All rise, voulez-vous le verre? The International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals is now in session. L'audience du mécanisme international appelé à exercer les fonctions résiduelles des tribunaux pénaux est ouverte. Please be seated.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is case MICT-15-96A, the prosecutor versus Jovica Stanišić and Franco Simatović.
Thank you so much. Before proceeding with the appearances of the parties, I note that Mr. Stanišić, Mr. Simatović, counsel for Mr. Stanišić are participating via video conference link. Mr. Stanišić filed notification to this effect on the 8th of December of this year, and Mr. Simatović filed his notification on 13th of December, which I recognized as validly filed in the interests of justice on the 10th and 14th of December, respectively. First of all, since I am wearing a mask, can you follow me easily, or it's not? Okay. Let's get to appearances. Counsel for Mr. Stanišić.
Is myself, Wayne Jordash, appearing alone today, my lord.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jordash. Mr. Stanišić, can you hear the proceedings and in a language that you understand?
Yes. Predsjedavajući, u redu, hvala.
Thank you for counsel for Mr. Simatović.
Sada branilac gospodina Simatovića. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. Today, on behalf of Mr. Simatović's defense, it is only myself, Mihailo Bakrač, who is present.
Thank you, Mr. Bakrač. And Mr. Simatović, can you hear the proceedings and in a language that you can understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you very well.
To these proceedings of today, appearances for the prosecution.
Good morning, Your Honor. For the prosecution, Senior Abuse Counsel Barbara Goy and Laurel Vague, our case manager Janet Stewart, and myself, Rafael Braga da Silva.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Today's status conference was scheduled by order of 15th November of this year. pursuant to Rule 69B of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence of the Mechanism, an appeals chamber judge shall convene a status conference within 120 days of the filing of a notice of appeal, which occurred on this case on the 6th of September of 2021. The primary purpose of a status conference in the appeal phase is to allow a person in custody pending appeal an opportunity to raise issues in relation thereto, including in relation to his or her mental and physical condition. In today's status conference, I will begin by briefly summarizing the procedural history so far, and then I will turn to the appellants, Mr. Stanišić and Mr. Simatović, to see if there are any issues they wish to raise within the scope of Rule 69B. The prosecution will have an opportunity to make remarks thereafter. I recall that the trial judgment in this case was pronounced on the 30th of June of 2021 and filed in writing on the 6th of August 2021. All parties filed their respective notices of appeal on 6th September 2021 and their appellants' briefs on 22nd November 2021. Following a 4-week extension of time granted to the parties, the respondents' briefs in this case are due on 31st of January 2022. In addition, following the decision issued on 15th December, that's yesterday, Mr. Stanišić and Mr. Simatović are authorized to file respondents' briefs of up to 40,000 words. There are currently 2 motions pending in this case. One pertains to Mr. Stanisić's request for admission of additional evidence on appeal, and the second to the prosecution's request for extension of time to respond to Mr. Stanisić's motion. These motions will be adjudicated in due course. Now we will proceed to hear from Mr. Stanišić and Mr. Simatović. Since this section of the proceedings could end up discussing private medical issues, if you or your counsel would like for this section of the proceedings to be held in closed session, please let me know immediately so that I will provide accordingly. I haven't heard anything. So, counsel for Mr. Stanišić, do you have? I'm now having a feedback of the sound. Counsel for Mr. Stanišić, do you have any issues related to your client's detention condition, his health, or any other matters relevant to this status conference as provided for under Rule 69B that you would like to raise on his behalf? I'm putting the question directly to you, but I am equally asking Mr. Stanišić, after you've spoken, if you would like to add anything, to please feel free to call my attention and say whatever you like. Yes.
Thank you a lot. I don't have anything specifically to raise in relation to Mr. Stanisić's health. There was a concern at one point about vaccination, but that has been resolved, I think, several ago, and so resolved satisfactorily, I should say. So Mr. Stanišić has now, or will shortly, have optimal protection against COVID-19. I don't know if this is the right time to raise a motion we will be filing very soon in the next few days, well, subject to action, which relates to health in the sense that we are going to apply for provisional release or an expedited appeal procedure, obviously expedited after the briefs have been filed, because of Mr. Stanisić's advanced age, chronic illnesses, and what we will argue is the compelling nature of aspects of his appeal against sentence, particularly. I'm mindful that such an number one is not, as I said at the outset, specific complaints about detention. It's based, as I say, on what we say is compelling aspects of his appeal against sentence, and also his advanced age and long-standing chronic illnesses and the overall length of these proceedings. But I'm also mindful that if we file an application for provisional release or an expedited appeal process at this point in time, that may cause the prosecution difficulties in terms of holidays, which are, of course, just round the corner. And I certainly don't want to force people to have to respond to applications when they're trying to have a much deserved holiday. So I'm raising it now really just to seek some guidance on the way forward with that application. And that's all I have to raise at this point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Jordash, I don't think I can give you advice, or as you well know, it's up to you, and perhaps you can sit down with the prosecution and discuss together the best way forward in this regard. But feel free to file a motion to this effect anytime you wish to. Mr. Stanišić, in addition to what you've heard your counsel tell the court, would you like to add anything yourself? Are you happy with your state of detention, the way it's being carried out, and do you have any additional or separate health concerns that you would like to address to me?
Yes, Your Honor. I can just briefly say that throughout all these months and years as well, the management of the detention unit, especially the health service, were very responsible and conscientious in terms of the health service that were provided to me in all the medical institutions that they sent me to. It is a fact that I wish you to hear. And I don't have anything else particular to say.
Okay, I thank you, Mr. Stanišić. I turn now to counsel for Mr. Simatović. I put the same question to you. Do you have any issues related to your client's detention conditions, his health, or any other matter relevant to his to this status conference as provided by the applicable rule, that is Rule 69B, that you would like to raise at this moment on his behalf?
Your Honor, thank you for the invitation to state what we may have and raise any issues in accordance with the relevant rules. I can tell you that I have no issues to raise right now, and that my client instructed me, though he will surely tell you this himself, he instructed me to tell you that he is satisfied with the detention conditions. He is satisfied with the way he is treated by the detention staff, and in particular he asked me to emphasize his gratitude and satisfaction with the health staff and the health service that he is being provided. But I am sure that he will confirm this to you personally, but simply these are the instructions he provided to me, and I wanted for the record to articulate his satisfaction with the conditions provided in the detention unit, especially the medical treatment. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Simatović, you've heard your counsel address me. Would you like to add anything or make any comments, remarks of your own?
Your Honor, I think that my counsel has provided all the answers that I wanted him to say, and thank you for it. I have nothing else to add.
Which I appreciate. I turn now to the prosecution. Are there any remarks that you would like to make?
Good morning, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Only one issue in relation to the motion that Mr. Georges said would be coming from the Stanišić defense. We would really appreciate if, as Mr. Georges has already alluded to, if Your Honors could take into consideration that the recess period is coming and that there are related staff leave in relation to that when considering our response period to that motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So, I think that brings us, are there any further comments, remarks? I hear none. So I'll bring this status conference to an end. First of all, I'd like to thank the registrar and his office and all staff for facilitating this status conference. And I thank everyone for their participation. This status conference now stands adjourned. Thank you.
All rise.